Slope is a value that must be calculated as part of your application if your property is in a shoreland area or if you are selecting a location for an on-site sewage treatment system. Slope is important to St. Louis County because steeper slopes require increased attention with respect to runoff and erosion issues. In simplest terms, slope is the change in height over a horizontal distance. This simple formula is often expressed as rise over run. Multiplying this value by 100 converts it into a percentage. Slopes of 6% or less are of relatively little concern, although good erosion controls like natural vegetation are still important. A quick method for estimating whether slope is more or less than 6% can be done by two adults standing 100 feet apart and facing one another. Using a notebook or another flat surface to block anything below the horizontal sightline, if the person on the uphill side can still see any part of the downhill person's body, then the slope is most likely less than 6%. If you estimate that your slope exceeds 6%, a more precise measurement will be needed. There is a simple way to determine this using a few common items and some easy math calculations. You will need a 50-inch board, a carpenter's level, and a tape measure. Place the board flat on the ground at a good representative location with the length going up and down the slope being measured. Set the level on the 50-inch board and lift the lower end of the board up until it is horizontal. Now measure the plumb line distance in inches from the raised end of the level board to the ground. To determine the slope, divide this number by 50, the length of the board, then multiply by 100 to express this value as a percentage. To ensure the most accurate measurement of slope over the whole area, you should repeat these steps at several different spots that are representative of your property. Then calculate the average percent slope. Slope information is an important part of your application. It is important to the county, and using the information you have about the slope of your land is important for helping you make decisions that will protect our resources and enhance your enjoyment of the property.
Besides, there are other methods of slope determination.
One is with the clinometer, and the other is with an older instrument known as the Abney level. They both do the same thing, but in slightly different ways. The Abney level is a little bit of an older instrument, and what it is it has a scale here that you line up with, and it gives you a percent marking. It also has a level bar with a bubble in it. There's a mirror inside the Abney level that bounces the orientation of that bubble into the eye hole so that you can see it and line up. There's a bar across the front that gives you that level marking, and you're going to look from this hole across the slope stakes. This is one slope stake here, and I'm going to try to line it up with the slope stake at the opposite end of the field, and then I'm going to turn the dial to get the level lined up. Then I can look at this dial and see where it's pointed, and it will give me my percent slope. So I'm going to get down, place the Abney level on the slope, and line up the line I can see on the inside of it with the top of the other slope stake. Then I need to move this, and it's going to turn that leveler with the bubble in it ever so slightly, and I need to get the line on the leveler with the bubble lined up with the line I can see through the Abney level. Once I've done that, I can take a look at where the marker is on this level, and it will tell me my percent slope. So I can tell from here it's a 1% slope. The other tool we can use to measure slope is a clinometer, which is a little more modern than the Abney level. And instead of having a mirror with a level bar that's reflected it into the eye vision for you to line up with the level itself, this one has an internal dial. As I rotate the angle of the clinometer, it rotates this meter on the inside. So the trick with looking through the clinometer is I have to keep both eyes open, because with the Abney level I could see through the tube to the other stake, but for this one I need to have one eye open to see the meter on the inside of the clinometer and the other eye open to make sure I'm lining it up correctly with the stake on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and get over here and place the clinometer on top of the stake. Now, sometimes if your stakes are really close together, you need to make sure you angle the level meter line on the inside of the clinometer with just above the stake. These are pretty far apart, so I can aim pretty straight for the top of the stake and be good to go. Now, there's 2 meters inside this clinometer, and one side reads percent and one side reads degrees, just like a protractor that you might use in geometry class. Now, it's important to make sure you're reading the correct scale. This one happens to be a 1% slope. If I'm confused as to which scale is the correct one, I can always turn the clinometer up all the way towards the sky, and at the bottom of the percent slope, there will be a percentage sign. You'll also notice the percent scale goes up in number very rapidly, as opposed to the angle scale, which won't get to 100 degrees unless I was turning over backwards. It's really nice to have stakes to shoot your slope off of, but things happen. Sometimes they get knocked around by other wildlife or participants that are out on the site. If it's not the exact same height in both locations, you're going to need to adjust. And there's 2 ways to check that. One way is stand right up against the stake and mark a point on your body, walk down to the other side of the slope stakes, make sure the other stake is about the same height.
Also, there is laser measuring tools that can be used at
the D810 touch. Press the function key and select the Smart Horizontal mode. Use the digital point finder if it is bright or the target point is further away, and aim roughly somewhere above on the wall. Measure now 1 point wherever on a facade. You immediately get the horizontal distance in the main line of the display. In addition, you can see the slope and the direct distance of your measurement, as well as the height difference of your start and end point of it. With the Smart Horizontal mode from Leica Geosystems, you can quickly determine precisely any horizontal distance, even over a wall, a bush, a street, people, or an earth heap,